be forewarned. The guide will be a little different than what's displayed on screen, as I did things differently during this kill. However, the guide is cleaner, so follow the guide instead. Thank you. At the start of this phase, start off by getting 2 casts of Sanctuary on Cloud. You can wait until after the debuffs land, or you can send it after Cloud auto attacks. The second cast, put up immediately. After the 2 casts, switch to Zack and cast 2 stacks of Dual Onslaught in order to get magic defense down high. Afterwards, switch over to Matk, switch to defensive stance, and pull ATB. After Mega Flare lands, ensure to get this heal off as soon as possible, and switch out of defensive stance in order to not lose your gauge. Switch back into defensive stance. Zack should assist with a cure all, and Cloud should refresh Sanctuary cast. After Hellfire lands, quickly switch out of defensive stance to not lose your gauge. But just before you switch out of defensive stance, get off a heal cast. Then switch over to Zack and refresh Dual Onslaught. Switch back into defensive stance after Cloud sends out a freezing slash, and Matt has 5 ATB in order to get off a hill. Then switch back into offensive stance, get 1 more Dual Onslaught cast, switch over to Cloud, then go back into defensive stance once Cloud reaches 4 ATB in order to refresh Sanctuary. Switch from Cloud to Matt and get off another hill if he didn't already do so. Stay in defensive stance until Crimson Flare lands. After Crimson Flare lands, quickly switch into attack stance so this way Zack does not get off the hill. Pull your ATB until you get full stance gauge, and then start casting Rune Resurge. You only need 1 cast of Rune Resurge at each target in order to interrupt the sigil phase. After you've interrupted the sigil phase, switch to defensive stance so this way Matt can heal. Then switch back into offensive stance and start working on debuffing Ifrit. If debuff does not land, you'll need a second heal cast from Matt, so go back into defensive stance so Matt can heal. Switch back to offensive, get 3 stacks of the debuff landing on Ifrit, then switch targets to Bahamut and do the same. Afterwards, switch back to Ifrit, as the next phase should begin shortly. Ifrit will wind up casting Ignition, and during that time, Bahamut will cast Telflow. Bahamut's Telflow cast will put physical defense down mid, so ensure that either you're running Centipede to counter that, or bring Matt's Gigantic Shield, and just before it lands, go ahead and send Matt's Gigantic Shield along with the other limit breaks, and that will also take down Ifrit's Ignition. Ifrit, every time he has an attack land, will fill his Ignition bar, increasing his damage. The goal should be to have Ignition bar fully depleted after each attack, so you'll want to switch over to Cloud and send his freezing stream attack after each attack from Ifrit. Do not forget to go into defensive stance to allow Matt to heal. And if you do not have the Ignition bar fully depleted before Crimson Dive goes out, chances are you'll be wiped. After Crimson Dive lands, switch over to Cloud and target Bahamut. Send 1 freezing stream out. Afterwards, go into defensive stance, so this way Matt can heal. And then once Cloud recovers 3 ATB, put up a defaith on Bahamut. If you did not bring Centipede, switch at this point to Zack and put up a barrier on whoever the dive bomb target is. And repeat, going into defensive stance, so this way Matt can get off another heal, stay in defensive stance until the dive bomb lands, and at this point, target Ifrit because Sigil phase comes out next. Matt, will be your sigil breaker once again, so make sure you are on mat, pull your ATB until full stance, and then interrupt the sigil using Rune Resurge. Once that sigil phase is interrupted, switch once again back to Bahamut, then switch over to Zack, ensuring that Bahamut has the 3 stacks of physical defense down. Once they are applied, send all limit breaks, and then finish up the fight by just killing them both. At this point, they both should be low on health, but the goal is to ensure that you kill both within a reasonable amount of time of each other. Otherwise, whichever one is still alive will enrage and wind up wiping you if their cast goes off. With this done, you should have the fight cleared, no problem. Congratulations on your clear. Stick around, as next we'll be covering gear, as well as materia setup and what stats will be required. So for this team, I opted to use Matk, Cloud, and Zack because they all brought weapons and utility that would be useful for this fight and ensuring I got a clear that was super fast. I wanted to bring in Matk for Centipede, which gives physical defense up, as well as a heal. He also had Rune Resurge to interrupt sigil phase. I brought Cloud for his ice weapon, as well as Bandage Sword. I brought Zack for his dual onslaught, which is magic attack down, as well as physical defense down and his damaging ability. I ensured that everybody had about 130 physical defense and about 150 magic defense. Additionally, I gave Matt a defaith in order to assist with magic attack down. I gave Cloud a debrave in order to apply that for the dive bomb. And if I didn't bring Centipede, I would have brought a barrier on Zack in order to assist during the dive bomb phase, alongside with gigantic shield for tail flail.